President Trump announces that there's an armada larger than the one that surrounded Venezuela heading towards Iran as we speak. And there's many sides to this coin of why it's happening. And amidst all this chaos, an Iranian Latter-day Saint speaks out against the regime and why she believes that Iran should be liberated. A lot of stuff to go over. My name is Jackson Wayne Paul, and welcome to Latter Daily Saints.
What power shall stay the heavens from pouring down knowledge from heaven upon the heads of the Latter-day Saints?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Latter Daily Saints. Okay, if you thought that we didn't post yesterday, we did, but it was a little bit different to find it on our channel. We actually did our first ever live stream, and we're looking to do more of those at least once a week to kind of have more interaction with super chats, answering questions with the live chat. And so I think next Thursday, and we're going to do live stream Thursdays. Okay, that's what we're going to be instituting. So you can expect that for next week so that you can prepare, come ask questions, we can interact. It'll be a good time. But a few things to cover before we start.
Whoa, what is this?
It's one of the most gas designs of a t-shirt on planet Earth, okay? 2 days ago, we dropped this for pre-order. Go ahead, click the link in the description for Saint Threads. We have female cut, we have youth sizes, we have unisex fit. It's pretty gangster. And every time we wear this, dude, you know what people say? Bro, where'd you get that?
I want one.
I want one. So
they're pretty cool.
Get yours, link in the description. Also, a couple weeks ago, we announced that we're doing a church history tour with Dr. Michael Day in July. Well, it only took 2 weeks and it's already sold out. So 50 of you are going to be coming with us in July. Don't worry, in 2027, we're going to be doing many, many more. Because I think that there's a big demand.
Yeah, people are excited. I'm super excited to hang out with you guys. Calling everybody that signed up and getting their information, it just made me so pumped because we're just going to be like a big family hanging out. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Dare I shout out Heidi again?
Heidi.
Okay. And Annette. All right. You know who you are. A lot of cool people coming out with us. It's going to be a great time. But HP, let's get right into this. Actually, before we get into the Iran situation, dude, I saw this from Kash Patel this morning. We're not going to touch on it a ton, but just going to say that it happened. Basically, Kash Patel, he tweeted and he said, early this morning, FBI and HSI partners arrested 4 individuals in connection to the January 18th coordinated targeting of City's Church in Minnesota. Don Lemon, Traham Jean Cruz, Georgia Fort, and Jamal Little Lundy.
Little Lundy.
Lidell Lundy. Little Lundy. But anyways, we covered this story back last week when this happened, but it appears that they're actually taking action under the FACE Act, which is that act that we talked about, prevents people from obstructing or impeding the entrance of clinics or churches, places of worship. So we'll see how that develops, but just wanted to give you a follow-up with the story that we covered last week.
Yeah, I just got to say with that, like it's kind of crazy, first off, if you don't have the proper framing of it, right? But because it looks like, oh my gosh, they're starting to arrest journalists for just doing journalisming, right? Mm-hmm. But when you look into it more, Don Lemon knew that illegal activity was going to take place because it is illegal doing what they did. So even if he's just a journalist, he knew about it, was talking about it, leading up to it, and then didn't pass on that illegal information, right, that they were doing. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
We showed you the videos, how he was advocating for it in the middle of what was happening and stuff. And so not good to go. We'll see what happens with that. But jumping right into this Iran situation, okay? For those of you that are a little bit, maybe a little ignorant to what is happening, Hayden and I, back when we were on deployment actually in Okinawa, our mission set was to be the ready force to be sent to whatever zone of conflict that the President of the United States needed us. And so because of that, I became super hyper aware of geopolitics and things happening around the world. And so in the summertime, when things were heating up with Iran, I was very concerned, okay? And there's a lot of sides to this coin that people try to push just one narrative, but there's many different aspects to this that hopefully in watching Latter Daily Saints, you're gaining an ability to acquire more nuance in your thinking and see that things aren't always black and white, and that the two prevailing thoughts on motivations or narratives are usually partially true, but there's a lot more to it. Essentially, there's been a long history with this, and Israel has been heavily tied to it, and we're going to go over how they're involved. But recently, Donald J. Trump, 2 days ago, actually tweeted, and then in an interview this morning in the White House, he reiterated this. But he basically says, a massive armada is headed to Iran. It is moving quickly with great power, enthusiasm, and purpose. It is the larger fleet headed by the great aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln that sent to Venezuela. Like with Venezuela, it is ready, willing, and able to rapidly fulfill its mission with speed and violence if necessary. Hopefully, Iran will quickly come to the table and negotiate a fair and equitable deal. No nuclear weapons. One that is good for all parties. Time is running out. It is truly the essence of the essence. As I told Iran once before, make a deal. They didn't, and there was Operation Midnight Hammer, a major destruction of Iran. The next attack will be far worse. Don't make that happen again. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump.
Dude, first off, when did he start doing like the thank you to your attention for this matter?
I don't know.
Because it's actually kind of hilarious sometimes.
I know, it's hilarious. But what's not hilarious is war and rumors of war. And in the scriptures, we hear in the last days that there's going to be many of both of those things, wars and rumors of wars. And so from here, it looks like the overarching motive is because Iran won't reach a deal when it comes to nuclear weapons and the development of that. And so is that really the entire motivation here? I don't know. You be the judge. So then we have, if you go to the next.
Do we want to read what Iran said in response?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with it. It says, the last time the U.S. blundered into wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, it squandered over $7 trillion and lost more than 7,000 American lives. Iran stands ready for dialogue based on mutual respect and interest. But if pushed, it will defend itself and respond like never before.
One thing I will say in regard to that is, we have to remember war has to be the last resort. The taking of human lives needs to be the very last thing that we want to do. And when they're pointing out that number that 7,000 people were lost because of the war on terror, that is not counting the cost of suicides that were done by combat veterans. I'll look at the number right now just to pull it up, but I'm pretty sure it's 35,000 veterans have taken their lives during the war on terror.
Yeah, I mean, it's estimated 21 veterans, combat veterans, or just veterans in general take their lives every single day, which is 21 too many. And a lot of that is brought on because of the awful things that they had to participate in war. And, you know, what does it say here?
Yeah, so it's saying right here that an estimated 30,177 active duty personnel and veterans of post 9/11 era war on terror died by suicide as of June 2021. So how many of them were combat vets, we don't know, but what I will say is that it's absolutely tragic what war does to individuals and the way it breaks up families, what it does in the theater that war is taken place in, and then the psychological and spiritual effects it has on people. And so when we're talking about war, when we're talking about violence, and this is one problem I have with our modern society, historically, the kings of nations were there at the battles, and many times they participated in the battles in some sense. And so they saw their men bleeding out and dying. They saw the carnage. They saw the horror. But now what we have is satellite view, like a video game.
Yeah.
And so it's just, we talk about these things lightly a lot of times, but it's not a light thing.
Not at all. And so what the overarching message from that tweet from Donald Trump is, look, they're not coming to a deal in regards to not developing nuclear weapons. And so therefore, we're going to send military force over there. That's what I get from that tweet. I don't know. Is there another message you get that from that, Hayden?
Nope.
Yeah. And then we have a foreign minister from Iran who then, in response to this, he tweets, Our brave armed forces are prepared with their fingers on the trigger to immediately and powerfully respond to any aggression against our beloved land, air, and sea. The valuable lessons learned from the 12-day war have enabled us to respond even more strongly, rapidly, and profoundly. At the same time, Iran has always welcomed a mutually beneficial deal, mutually beneficial, fair, and equitable nuclear deal on equal footing and free from coercion, threats, and intimidation, which ensures Iran's rights to peaceful nuclear technology and guarantees no nuclear weapons. Such weapons have no place in our security calculations, and we have never sought to acquire them.
Which might not be true.
Which might not be true, but it's a completely other story, which I don't know. It could be true. It could be true. I have no idea. But the picture that's been painted by people like Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, they've been seeking, a nuclear weapon for over 25 years now.
And they've been a couple weeks away from getting
A couple weeks away. Yeah, I don't know.
years.
Click on the next link there.
All right.
Okay. We've got here a little compilation. There's actually way more videos, okay? I found multiple, but they cross over a little bit. But this is the most comprehensive one, okay? So this is going to be a little compilation of just how close Iran has been from acquiring a nuclear weapon. If you want to click off the little window you have on the top right corner, Hayden.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right. Play this video here.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months.
They have the wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
They're very close. They're 6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb.
Iran is gearing up to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
Ladies and gentlemen, time is running out.
Iran will be capable of producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
If not stopped,
Okay.
Iran could produce.
So we have there that this is a narrative that's been pushed for, what was the last one? 1992, 1996?
Yeah.
And so
To be fair, they were 3 to 5 years away from a bomb at that point.
3 to 5
But
years.
then they're about weeks or a couple months
and then
away
6
for the
months
next
and
20.
then weeks. And then it's just like the climate crisis, right? In 10 years, experts say there's going to be no ice caps. And that it's like, or in 10 years, all the oil is going to be depleted. Wow, we need to do an episode on fossil fuels, dude. The origin of that term fossil fuel, this is a little tangent, but just a little taste for you. I was talking to some guys that have been working in the oil fields for their whole entire lives, and their family has for generations back. And this term fossil fuels was coined by people that just wanted to monetize the crap out of oil. And so they wanted to cause a artificial scarcity. So they're like, well, it's made out of... It has the same makeup of naturally decomposed materials, so it must be made from dinosaurs or naturally decomposed stuff, which is finite. And so we're gonna coin the term fossil fuels because it's comes from fossils, and that is something that's gonna.
It makes it more scarce, and then you can sell it. Real quick, I do want to say this too. Because we've talked about this on the Sticky Joseph YouTube channel, which we go over like Book of Mormon evidences and things like that. And in my research to what the world was like at the time of Lehi when they were leaving, the oceans were like 25 feet or something like that higher. It was much warmer. It was so warm that there were parrots that lived all the way up north in New York City. So there have been fossils of parrots that have been, not fossils, remains of things. So it's just like it was warmer 2,000 years ago than it is today.
So a lot of false narratives being put out there. And then I asked him, I'm like, okay, well, aren't there like oil different fields that dry up? He's like, yeah. And then what we found is we went back about 20 years later to those same ones, and they had completely replenished themselves. And I'm like, how? He's like, we don't know, but we're pumping there again. And so anyways, there's a bunch of false narratives like that, like the oil, like the climate crisis. And then with Iran being weeks away from their nuclear devices, right? And so then back in July, we did, we as in the United States military did an operation, those B-2 bombers, which pretty bad, bro. Gosh, those
That's-
B-2 bombers. That's, yeah.
It's
Anyways,
so sick.
Their capabilities are crazy. But they go in, bomb 4 of the nuclear sites, and allegedly, I thought we set them back wherever they were in their nuclear program, but I guess it's not enough to, you know, cause peace, but we need to send an armada to threaten military change, okay? Now, there's another facet to this, right? People say that it is just because they want regime change, okay? And there's a good argument to be had there. And we're going to be looking at an Iranian Latter-day Saint and her comments in regards to the atrocities that are happening over there. But there's something here that they chant death to America in their parliament. Like, that is a fact, okay? And so I don't speak this language, but I sent it to a buddy that does speak this language, and he confirmed for me, yes, they're chanting death to America.
Here it is.
So here in 2025, the entire Islamic Republic of Iran's parliament chanted death to America, just like they've done for the past 46 years, okay? So let's check it out. All right. I know you didn't get much value out of that besides seeing people just scream, but I assure you, go look at the translation. They're screaming death to America, right? Pretty concerning. If I hear, you know, an Islamic country saying death to America, and I think about, you know, some terrorist attacks that have happened over the past, 20 years, I'd be concerned that, dang, they want to cause death. How do you cause death? You kill America. How do you kill America? You kill Americans, maybe? I think that's a reasonable line of thinking there. And then so Tucker Carlson, he interviewed the president of Iran back when all of this conflict was heating up in the summer. This was back in July. And he asked him about this, and I'm sorry, the
answer's wild.
they give is, I don't know. Tell me what you think.
Let's check it out.
Many Americans are afraid of Iran. You say you're not afraid, but Americans are afraid of Iran. And they believe that Iran would like to strike the United States with a nuclear weapon. They see video of Iranians saying death to America, describing our country as the great Satan. What is your opinion of that? Should we be afraid of Iran?
I believe that this is a very wrong impression that anybody might have of Iran or the Iranians. I would like to remind you that Iran has never invaded another country in the last 200 years. When they say death to the United States, it doesn't mean death to, they don't mean death to the people of the United States or even to the officials of the United States. They mean death to crimes, death to killing and carnage, death to supporting killing others, death to insecurity and instability. This is, have you ever heard that an Iranian killing an American? Have you ever heard that? Or a terrorist that was Iranian and he carried out a terrorist attack against the Americans? No, it was your president who confessed that the Americans created the ISIS in our region, and they were responsible for this wrong image that is portrayed of religion or the Muslims in the world. And once again, I would like to tell you and remind you that this is not death to the American people or to the officials. Death to crimes and atrocities, to bullying, to the use of force, and anybody who would like to become an accomplice in the crimes perpetrated by others.
Okay.
Oh, okay, that's what they mean. They just use a really short way of saying all of that, and they're like, "What's the best way to say death to injustice and death to, killing? Oh, death to America."
Exactly. And so if you're a little kid growing up in Iran underneath this regime and you're seeing the leaders of your nation chanting death to America, I'm going to grow up thinking, "Oh, death to America? There's a country called United States of America. Yeah, death to America. We want to kill America." I mean, and so maybe I'll give the benefit of the doubt. That is their crazy, weird way of, advocating against those things. Because if you do really look into the war on terror and the things that happened during that, if I lived in the Middle East, I'd probably hate the United States.
One thing I want to say, though, too, is Iran, they say these ridiculous things like, we've never, Iran has never invaded another country. Iran's never done this to America or whatever. But here's the thing, and it's smart. They're smart, but they just fund other people to do those things. They have Iranian-backed terrorist groups that do terror and invade countries and have done harm throughout the world. One thing I will say that goes along with that is the United States does the exact same thing. So, for example, one big scandal during the Reagan era was when Ronald Reagan was trafficking weapons to the Mujahideen, which is they eventually turned into the Taliban. So we started the Taliban, or the Mujahideen, with supporting weapons because they were fighting against the Russians to get the Russians out. And so we, during the Cold War, that's the whole thing about the Cold War. No, we've never invaded Russians. We never killed any Russians in war, but we give weapons to people that do it. We've never attacked. We're not in a war with Russia right now, but we give Ukraine millions of dollars and tons of our military equipment to fight the war for us. So they're doing the same thing we do. That said, at the end of the day, like, this whole world stage is filled with evil and conspiring men who want power for themselves, and it's complicated because everyone wants to support their people. I mean, at least hypothetically, it's about supporting their people and their nation, but it's not as clear cut as either side is saying. Yeah.
And so you have on one side here, they're super close to having nuclear weapons that they're going to use for, to kill, our allies or the United States, right? And then you have the side, if I hear a nation is chanting death to America, like, yeah, and I wouldn't want them to have nuclear weapons either. And then the argument of regime change. And then if you look at the history of Iran, it's like back in, not too long ago, they were a free nation. And I actually saw this video from this Latter-day Saint that comes from Iran. Her name is Shima Bowman,
probably.
I've sent her multiple DMs. Shima, we'd love to have you on the channel. We had Carlos Moreno on from Venezuela to talk about all the craziness going on over there, and it was very inspiring. And so we'd love to have you on the show to kind of hear from your experience and that of your ancestors as well. But I saw this video and it was very powerful, and then it made me think, wow, yeah, something, I don't know what, but something needs to be done. But let's hear what she has to say, and then I want to hear your thoughts. Have you seen this video, Hayden?
I have not.
Okay, cool.
I'm watching the news from Iran, the killings, the protests, and I feel like in my convictions I must say something. My family lives there. I have people I love who wake up every day not knowing what's going to happen next. So I'm speaking as someone who was born in Iran, who loves the country and also follows Jesus Christ. For much of its modern history, Iran has moved between monarchy, popular movements, and authoritarian rule. Before 1979, the country was ruled by a Shah, Reza Shah. After the Islamic Revolution, political power became concentrated in a religious regime that doesn't derive its authority from free and fair elections. Whatever your views of Iran's past are, what's clear today is that the Iranian people have never been given a lasting opportunity to govern themselves in a truly open, democratic way. First and foremost, I believe deeply that every human being is created in God's image and deserves the freedom to seek and choose faith without fear of violence or punishment. One of the reasons I live in America is, as a Christian, I would be punished and put to death if I went to Iran. A relationship with God must be born of love, not of coercion or of fear. Today, many Iranians who wish to follow Jesus Christ cannot do so openly. Around the country, there are underground house churches, quiet gatherings in living rooms, whispered prayers, hidden Bibles, because public worship or conversion can lead to harassment, arrest, or death. People risk their freedom simply to read the scriptures, pray, or follow Christ. That should weigh on the conscience of the world. I also believe deeply in the importance of constitutional democracy because it creates a space for human dignity, freedom of speech, and religious liberty. In 1953, Iranians voted for a democratically elected government. History shows that Iranians wanted self-government before and a democracy. And I believe that if this repression was lifted and the country was stabilized, they could choose it again. You're a person who prays, this is what I would love you to pray. Pray for an end of the killings of these peaceful protesters. Pray for those who've been detained simply for exercising their rights to speak. Pray for the families who are grieving. Pray for the underground believers gathering in fear and in hope. Pray for religious freedom so every Iranian can seek God openly. God openly. Pray for wisdom and courage from our own government and from the international community. Pray that if there's an opportunity for regime change, it could come with minimal loss of life, real stability, and a genuine chance for the Iranian people to reclaim their future and their faith. May God bring peace where there's violence, light where there's fear, and freedom, both spiritual and political, where it's been denied way too long. I'm watching.
So, dude,
Powerful.
I see that and I'm like, dude, is that not more Book of Mormon-esque type motivation for uprising? You know what I'm saying? The right for freedom, the right for the freedom of worship, the right to, you know, be in a land and have your God-given rights able to be practiced. And so now the question is it the United States' job to then intervene to help them in that cause? I don't know. Because if you remember when the pullout of Afghanistan happened and Joe Biden was given press conferences and he's talking about how America's mission over there was never to be nation building or anything like that. And then I talked to my buddy, like some guys that I knew that went and fought in the war on terror. And he's like, that's exactly what we were told. The reason we were still over there after 15 years was nation building and to help instill a democracy over there, to bring freedom of religion, right? And then they basically just turned it right back over to the Taliban. But the question is it the United States' job to go in and do that? You know what I'm saying?
I know. And that's why I think more than anything, what we're trying to do with Latter-day Saints is just get people thinking that maybe the initial response from both sides we shouldn't just go with. You know what I mean? I don't know what the answer is exactly. I think that we want as least violence as possible, but the ability to worship, the ability of conscience, like it's important and it's something worth dying for. But is it our job? Is it the Americans' job to die for it? Like, I think one of the reasons why the church, like the United States of America, was so successful in building its nation overall is because it was the people who got it done. Mm-hmm. It's not that we didn't receive. We received some help during the Revolutionary War.
The French finally showed up.
The French showed up
God
for
bless
a little bit. Yeah, but I mean, really, could we have done it without the French? I think so. Hey, no shade towards those French. But
shout out to you. We got a lot of people in France.
We got tons of French, really?
Yeah. 0.01% of our viewership.
But that said, it was because it was the people who fought up and rose up. So, like, I don't know. If the United States goes in and does what we do, which is we're really good at breaking and destroying things. We're so good at it. Like, that's one thing Marines, amazing at. If you need something broken and killed, we'll do it for you, right? But if you're looking to build a country that is filled with freedom and power, I think it kind of has to be done from the inside. I might be wrong in that.
I don't know. It's so tough because if that was happening here in the United States, if some theocratic authoritarian regime took power and made it so I couldn't go to church and worship the God of this land, which is Jesus Christ, I think I'm doing something about it, and that may lead to some less than peaceful protests. I don't know. Yeah. If people are being killed in the streets, if this was happening in the United States, if people were being killed in the streets for peacefully protesting, and I'm just going to take her word for it. I've done some research, and it looks to be like a lot of people have been killed due to protesting the regime. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't sit idly by. Now, the question is, should the United States get involved?
What is the measure? I think, and maybe this is the answer. Maybe the U.S. should get involved somehow, but there should be a clear objective. The problem with the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan is there was no clear objective. There was the weapons of mass destruction, but those were quickly, it was quickly shown that they didn't have those. So then what's the objective? And so it's the same with the Vietnam War, right? Yeah. There was no clear objective. It was just kill, 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 and then finally we're like, all right, this isn't working. So if we're going to do something, let's have a clear objective from the rip. What are we going to do? Is it to get rid of the Ayatollah? Because they were able to do that with homeboy in Venezuela, Maduro, pretty quickly. And could we do something like that? And once we get rid of that, then what's the plan? So I guess more than anything, it should be there should be a very clear objective and end state. And when we hit that end state, let's bounce out and let Iran figure itself out.
I don't know. What do you guys think? What's our runtime right now?
We're at 35 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Let's keep going. So let us know what you guys think in the comments, okay? A lot of crazy stuff happening. Shima, we'd love to have you on the channel to hear more about your experience and more about what's happening in Iran. And if you know of any Latter-day Saints that are over there in these secret underground Christian meetings, that sounds crazy, like a movie. Anyways, yesterday on the live stream, we talked about how the Salt Lake City mayor basically said that federal law enforcement agents from Border Patrol and ICE have no place in Salt Lake City. And we talked about how much sense that doesn't make. But no, here, Hayden, just go to the next link. No, that I sent you.
No, I was just going to pull this up.
Oh, yeah.
This is good to have.
Oh, yeah. And then today, essentially at 2 p.m. in Salt Lake City at Washington Square Park, that there is a Stand with Minnesota, ICE out, SLC shut it down, no work, no school, no shopping. Important, no shopping, okay? No work, no school, no shopping.
Shopping.
Friday, today. So there's ICE protests all around. And we'll show a picture here in a bit of one happening at my little sister's high school, actually. Mm-hmm. But then I'm like, I told you guys how I've had conversations with some immigrants that they are the ones that I've heard most negatively speaking about illegal immigration, those that actually went through the legal process to come over here and obey the law, just as we saw the church's statement advocates for, that all members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints should obey the law, and those that break it should be held accountable for breaking the law, okay? As sad as that may be. And so I want to find other videos, and I remember this one back in the summer when ICE kind of started to do these deportation operations. And if you've ever seen the Instagram of the Border Patrol, of the United States Border Patrol.
Yeah, they're not very tactful.
Not very tactful, and it's what has been coined as performative cruelty in a certain sense, because not in terms of numbers of past presidencies, not a lot of people are being apprehended and sent back to their countries, but they're doing it to like
very loudly.
Some edits, some TikTok edits and stuff. They've gotten really good at CapCut. But then in the summer, The View, the very intelligent and wise ladies of The View, okay? They brought on Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is an absolute dog, okay? In terms of his movies and his muscles. And they brought him on because he's an immigrant, right? Clearly he has something to say about these people being deported and how awful it is. And so let's just watch this exchange because
I think they wanted it to go a different way than it went.
Yes, and look at the look on Whoopi Goldberg's face, if you think.
And real quick, though, the context of this, once again, this was months ago, so this isn't Arnold Schwarzenegger commenting on what's been happening
Yes, this
recently.
is in the summer.
This is in the
when
summer.
they first started.
But I still think the principles still stand strong.
Yep.
If you are an immigrant, you're an immigrant in this country. Yeah. Did you have a visceral reaction to what they're doing, what ICE is doing, when you see the videos of it?
Well, I tell you, you said that the immigrant, I'm so proud and happy that I was embraced by the American people like that. I mean, imagine I came over here with the age of 21, with absolutely nothing. And then to create a career like that. I mean, in no other country in the world could you do that. Every single thing, if it's my bodybuilding career, if it's my acting career, becoming governor, the beautiful family that I've created, all of this is because of America.
That's true.
And so this is why I'm so happy to see firsthand that this is the greatest country in the world, and this is the land of opportunity. I just think the world of the great kind of history that we have with immigrants in America. But the key thing also is at the same time that we got to do things legal. That is the important thing, you know. So you got to do things legal. And those people that are doing illegal things in America and that are foreigners, they are not smart. Because when you come to America, you're a guest. And you have to behave like a guest. Like when I go to someone's house, and I'm a guest, then I will do everything I can to keep things clean and to make my bed and to do everything that is the right thing to do rather than committing a crime or being abusive or something like that. So that doesn't really work in this country. So I think the important thing is when you become an immigrant, to think about, okay, I go to America because I want to use America for the great opportunities that America has in education, in jobs, creating a family, all of those kind of things. Then you have to think about, okay, if I get all of those things from America, then I have to give something back. You have a responsibility as an immigrant to give back to America and to pay back to America and to go and do something for your community for no money whatsoever. Give something back to after-school programs, Special Olympics, or whatever it is. Make this country a better place.
They're like trying to get him shut up. Okay, hey, stop.
You're not supposed to say this. That's it from an immigrant himself, okay? Someone that came over here legally to this country and just listened to it from his own mouth, okay?
What more can you say?
What more can you say? What more can you say? And then I just want to show this picture. So there's an anti-ICE protest happening at my little sister's school, Brighton High School. And it seems, though, as some young teenagers are taking an opportunity to kind of troll. And this kid made a sign that said "end period cramps" with 2 hearts on it, and then in parentheses it says "I'm 6'5".
I'm 6'5".
So maybe he's trying to score some points there with some of the protesters that may be females. I don't know, or he's just trying to troll. I don't know.
Yeah.
What a crazy time, dude. If this was happening when I was in high school, I don't know. I was so disconnected from anything happening in the political sphere.
Which is right. Which is how it should be. When you are going to high school, you shouldn't really be worried about politics yet. You should know about how the political system works. You should be learning that. But like to be ingrained in politics at such a young age, I just don't think it's healthy. I think that you should be allowed to be a kid that doesn't worry about politics.
Yeah, maybe. But anyways, a lot of crazy stuff going on, and hopefully, as I harp on all the time, we may put in first place of all of our identifiers as children of God and disciples of Jesus Christ before our nationality, before our race, before our political affiliation, before our sports teams, before anything. We look at ourselves and others through the light and lens of that of being a child of God and a disciple of Jesus Christ. And hopefully then our world might start to look somewhat similar to what happened during the hundreds of years after Christ came and visited the Americas in 4th Nephi, that there may be peace in all the land and that people may enjoy the freedoms of religion, of worship, and things like that. So I don't know. A lot of crazy stuff happening. Things are far more complex, and hopefully we've been able to show you that there's multiple sides to this coin, and bad men could be doing things to satisfy their selfish desires in the name of, toppling a regime that then hopefully allows religious freedom to be had. But I don't know. It's complicated. All I know is that Iran is probably not weeks away from a nuclear bomb, okay? And if you just go look up the compilations, okay? Anyways, God bless you. And we'll see you next week. Like I said, mark on your calendars, Thursday, we're going to be doing the live streams. And yes, we got an Ethernet cable, so it's better connection, all right? Brandon apologizes off camera. No, he did a great job yesterday. It's not his fault, okay? But yeah, and then have a great weekend. Have a great time in church, and may God bless you. If you're not looking at the world through a gospel lens, you're only getting half the story.